Welcome to the Hazard Class Podcast. This is the podcast where I ask my stupid questions to some of the smartest people in and around the world of emergency services. My guest this week is here to usher in a new era of the fire service in the HazMat world, the era of battery fire extinguishment. He works for a company called LifeSafe Technologies, and they make extinguishment products for all types of fires. But today, we're going to talk about their breakthrough technology, TRF+, which allows for the rapid extinguishment of lithium-ion battery fires, something thought to be impossible not too long ago. Me and the team from the HazMat Guys have been working with them for over 6 months now, vetting and testing their claims, and we literally can't believe what we've seen. Today, we're going to talk about that process, how their product stands to change the landscape of battery fires forever. With my guest, Paul Jameson, the Chief Commercial Officer of LifeSafe Technologies. Paul, thanks for joining me.
Looking forward to it. Great to meet you again, Jake.
Yeah, exactly. We had the opportunity to meet each other a few months ago when we came out and did some testing. And I'm sure we'll get into that throughout this process. But yeah, Paul is fun. He had his opportunity to shoot his first gun when he was in town, which you'll figure out he's not from America. You'll figure that out pretty quickly as he starts talking. But
yeah, for a Brit, that's a big thing.
All right. So as is the format of the show, we open up with our Wheel of Stupid Questions. It was just a reminder that asking questions is good. And if you point their stupid questions at the right people, you can still get some pretty smart answers. So with that, we'll get into that segment. We'll see what we get today. Okay, spin the wheel, see what we get. Okay, this is a dumb one. Brace yourself. If given the choice, would you rather have 3 arms and 1 leg or 3 legs and 1 arm?
I think 3 arms and 1 leg.
I think that's probably a good answer.
You can use crutches still.
Yeah.
And you've still got an arm free.
Yeah, right. I think that it's a lot harder to adopt a leg into an arm than an arm into a leg.
Yeah, I agree.
For sure. Okay. Well, now that I wasted a little bit of your time, now we'll get into the real deal. So obviously, as you can tell, Paul hails from across the pond, and he is at the helm of this awesome company that we've come to know and love. And so we're here to talk about the product, TRF+, this thermal runaway fluid that claims that it can change the landscape of battery extinguishment. And I'll tell you, I wouldn't believe it if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes. When we first got into this, down this rabbit hole, I thought that it wasn't possible. And then slowly, you guys chipped away at my, biases, I guess I would say. And so let's start with there. Come back. Also, full disclosure, right? We started out talking, I don't know. I talked to the distributing partner, I don't know, maybe 8 months ago. And then he sent me some videos and I was like, I don't know about this. Seems too good to be true. And eventually we brokered this deal. And we're all going to get on this call together and we're going to hear your pitch. Yeah. So talk me through that. On this call was Mike Monaco, our business manager, Brian, and then me, and then you and the team from the distributing partner. Yeah. It was a little tenuous. Walk me through that.
I have to say it was probably the most challenging I've ever had come across in terms of that type of meeting, in terms of, I know our product works. So we're not selling snake oil. We don't sell stuff that doesn't work, and we test it before we even have a conversation with anybody. So I was supremely confident on that call until the questions were coming at me. We don't believe it. And it wasn't, they didn't believe me. It was the fluid can't possibly work because everybody else has been trying to solve the problem that we've solved. And the proof, the videos and the proof that slowly started to warm up, but it was probably the hardest meeting that I've been in terms of the challenge to does it really work? Not, wow, that's amazing. It can't possibly work. We've tested everything. But so, yeah, it was a real interesting one for me.
Yeah, I mean, it was even, being a neutral kind of third party sitting in there going like, hey, man, I hope it works, but I'm going to be hard to convince. I'll say Mike does his due diligence. He was not making it easy for you. And don't get me wrong, you had a great presentation. You had all the videos and the testing evidence and all this stuff. But we were thoroughly convinced that it couldn't possibly be real. And that sent us down this rabbit hole of testing and all the things that we've been doing in the last, half a year.
And that's been the best part of actually the challenge that was given to us. Prove it. Mm-hmm. Prove it. So,
and I'll tell you this from our perspective, right? So obviously I'm involved with all the HazMat guys, all the inner workings and the conversations. And the one thing that we kept coming back to as we were trying to convince ourselves that it wasn't snake oil, right? Because we were going like, oh man, it just can't be real. The thing that resounded to us was one of the claims that you had. We said, hey, can you send us some product? We want to try it. We want to test it. And then you said, take it, try to make it not work. And that is not the thing that someone that's trying to sell a product that doesn't work says. And we kept coming back to that. I mean, man, he's so confident. I just can't believe how confident he is. Take it, try to make it not work. If you find a way that it doesn't work, let me know and we'll fix it, basically was the statement. And we couldn't believe it. We're like, okay, they're just going to send us product, use it however you want. Yeah. And it was sweet. And so then it eventually, they sent us some and we were messing with it and we're like, okay, maybe there's something to this. I don't know. I want more. I want to be convinced. So it eventually comes to a meeting in central Wisconsin. You fly across, I drive over, and we do some product testing. So talk me through that a little bit. Right.
That was when you were replaying back to me, we're going to try and break your fluid. And I'm thinking, okay, these guys are really going to try and break the fluid. So the testing that we'd set up, you had wanted to test it in a particular way. Mm-hmm. So we weren't designing the test for you. Again, giving you the confidence that, yeah, we're going to do it this way. We're going to use a probe. We're going to light it and throw it in a bucket and then take it out again. We'd never done this sort of testing before. But when you were doing that test and we had the firefighters there and we had a lot of people watching, and again, I was supremely confident in the fluid, but thinking we've never done these tests before. We've never tested it in this particular way, but we went with it. And the more I saw yourself and Brian walking around the fires, looking at each other going, this is really working.
Yeah,
how do we stop it from working? What do we do next? And it was like more and more tests were becoming more and more like, this is a strange test. They're going to scoop it up with a shovel and put it in a bucket with the fluid and then get the firefighter to put it hand inside and take it out, and it was cold, and you were using your guns, and so that was for us was brilliant because you were really trying to play back.
we were. I tell you what, we had meetings and we're like, all right, how are we going to make it not work? And it was like this. How about this? This won't. It can't possibly pass that test. Or this, it can't possibly pass that test. And then we're just sitting there, kind of jaw agape, like, holy crap! I guess it's doing it. So let's get down to the actual claim, right? LifeSafe Technologies makes a product, TRF, that puts out lithium-ion battery fires.
Yes, absolutely.
It puts them out in thermal runaway.
It puts them out in thermal runaway, and the best part of it is it stops it from reigniting. So we don't just extinguish the fire, we prevent the reignition of that battery.
And I'll tell you what, I've seen it with my own eyes and I still struggle to hear the sentence. Like it's like I was so hardwired into me for so long that it's like, well, this is just a thing that we can't stop. It's going to take 80,000 gallons or whatever the claim might have been at the time. It still is a hard thing to let sink in that a new era kind of has arrived. We're like, this is just a new thing that we can do now.
Yeah, absolutely. And that new era is completely changing the way people are looking at some traditional fires as well, with how our fluid works and how it changes the construct at a molecular level within the fire. And that's what's changed how we're not just taking the traditional foam or a traditional product and saying, hey, it works on lithium. This has been designed specifically to do what it does across a lithium battery fire, but also that chemistry construct is amazing across all other fire types as well.
Yeah, so it is, which is crazy. I'll full disclosure, we were looking for certification documents yesterday, and I was messaging with someone from the company because I was like, hey, we want to know about the certification, and they sent us a document that said, I was like, I need proof that it puts out lithium fires from an agency, and they're like, well, how about lithium and 9 other groups? I was like, okay, well, that's a little overdue. You're overdoing it, but we just asked for 1. You gave us 10, but that's cool. So let's talk about how it works, right? If everyone was going to say, well, okay, how does it work then, right? If it's supposedly this magic fluid, what's the rules, the caveman version of how it works, I guess?
Okay, so let's take the traditional fire triangle. Let's not make it a tetrahedron. Let's not make it something that isn't. The fire triangle, so heat, oxygen, and the fuel source. So I don't have to tell anybody that. The majority of other products all deal with the suppression piece, so the oxygen. So let's suppress the oxygen down, which gets rid of the fire and covers it in this lovely little blanket. From a lithium perspective, that just doesn't work. The lithium battery is the reverse of what you're trying to do. You do not want a blanket over the top because you're not interested in stopping air getting to it, because it generates its own. It generates its own oxygen, its own fuel source is there, created underneath. So the blanket is actually covering up what's happening. Our fluid doesn't do that. We separate that fire triangle. So we deal with the heat first. The moment the fluid touches that fire, it absorbs the heat. So the heat has been removed from the fire. That's stage 1. Stage 2 is this, it creates an inert gas when it's in contact with that battery, the module, the pouch, the cylinder, the prismatic cell. It stops any oxygen buildup. So it's preventing the battery from doing what it's naturally trying to do by how the fluid is operating. So we're not suppressing it with a blanket, we're suppressing any oxygen buildup in that battery. So you've removed the heat, you removed the oxygen, you've just got a battery that can do nothing. And that's the beauty of the product, is doing 2 things. And we call it an endothermic reaction and suppression capability, but it's suppressing the oxygen buildup in the battery. So that's what it's doing, and that's how it's able to do what it does so well.
So correct me if I'm wrong. The product is applied, and then once it's applied, it will not reignite.
Correct.
Correct. Unequivocally, it will not ignite.
Absolutely, because of what the fluid's doing. And we have we'll get into this a bit later, I'm sure, but we have other products in the range that really prove this aspect of retardancy and prevention of reignition, and similar chemistry constructs, but our Wildfire product does that, and we can talk about that later. But actually, that retardancy, prevention of reignition, is a critical part of dealing with a battery fire.
Yeah. I mean, that's always been the claim. It's like, well, even if you put it out, it's just going to reignite, whatever. And so, yeah. So let's talk about some of the testings that you guys have done. Let's talk about like the things that you've done through third parties, some of the things you've done on your own, in conjunction with some other agencies. Walk me through, like, prove to me that you've done your due diligence.
Okay. So let's start with what probably most people in the US all understand. So we've done some initial UL testing to normal A and B class fires. So the fluid is UL recognized component as a product to deal with class A and class B. That was the first step of proving to an outside agency outside of the UK what the fluid can do. We then did the environmental pieces, so the groundwater. So there's little point in having a product that creates a film over a lake or a river or the sea, or it is actually not going to create an oxygen depletion within the water. So it's safe in and around open water areas. We then did a crop test. So we tested it on open broadleaf plants to make sure that, again, if there's any overspraying, so lots of these battery energy storage systems are in and around farm areas because they've got the space to do it. So let's test it and make sure it doesn't kill any plant life. Perfect. So it actually enhances root growth in plants. So as a product, it is beneficial environmentally. So again, the reverse of most other firefighting products. The next element was improving that it was safe for the user, the operative. So it is non-toxic, non-hazardous. It is fluorine-free. All the things that a fluid needs to be for the operative to feel safe, to be able to use it correctly, which is put the wet stuff on the red stuff. It's very straightforward. And actually deal with that fire in the confidence that it's not going to cause them any issue, or they have to wear anything else to do it. And that has been a fundamental part of proving the fluid's capability in the normal realms of testing, but also actually testing it to that next stage. As a business, we want to make sure, and we will always make sure, it's safe, but also highly effective. And those two, if we can't deliver one of those, we don't put the product in the market. It's that simple. And that's true of every single product that we have right now in the marketplace. When you look at other testing, it's always difficult in a new arena like lithium, is to what size battery, what type of battery, what style of battery. Do you open the case? Do you explode the case? Do you overcharge it? Do you overheat it? Do you use a nail gun? We've done everything. So we've tested it third party. The fluid in a standard metal canister has been tested to the only available standard globally at the moment, which is the Kiwa NTA 8133 test. It's a Netherlands-based test, and that proves that the fluid stops them or run away and prevents any reignition. That's the first, and that's a 6-litre canister, 1.6 gallons. We've then done open case full battery testing where we've used it from a fire truck. So not just spraying 100% fluid on, we've used it at a 6% dilution in the fire truck, induced into the nozzle and the hose, and sprayed that on a 42 kilowatt battery, and it put it out using less than 12 gallons of product. Our competitors used 60 to 80 gallons of product, whereas we used 12. Theirs reignited, ours didn't. And water took just over 250 gallons. So again, it just proving, and they reignited. So for us, the proof was how much fluid or how little fluid do we need, and does it reignite? And the answer was next to no fluid, and no, it doesn't reignite. Whereas the competition, the A-class foams, the leading B-class foams, and significant quantities of water were all reigniting within a few minutes of that fire being extinguished. So it proved the point from that point of view. In our test facility that we have, we're doing laptop batteries, scooter batteries, we're doing larger car batteries, we're doing tool batteries, just proving all the different chemistries and all the different types of batteries, the fluid works the same. Remove the heat, prevent the oxygen, the battery is then extinguished and it won't reignite.
Man, it's fun, man. I like I said, I've seen it with my own eyes, but the claims still feel too big to be true. But they are, from what I've seen. I've seen it with my own eyes. So now let's get into maybe the bad news, I guess. It's obviously must last on the shelf 3 weeks, and I have to rebuy it every month or whatever, right? That's the downside.
Well, maybe commercially we should try and do that, but that would change our philosophy as a business. We've got the first production that we ever made. We've been around since 2015. We made our first production of fluid in 2017, and that fluid still exists. We test it every year. So we know that fluid will last at least 8 years in terms of a product, the stability of that product, and the fluid performance of that product has not changed in that time frame. So again, we are not making products that you have to put on a shelf, worry about, panic. Put it on the shelf, store it correctly. That's one thing. Store it inside, out of direct sunlight, all the normal things for a great product to still work. And actually you'll have a product that you can use and then store, use and store. It's a very straightforward approach.
Wow. So in the testing that you've done, is industry flocking to this? What partners have you went through, or have you had any that have come to you and said, this seems interesting, how can we use it?
Yeah, we one of our original partners that wanted to prove it, a bit like the HazMat Guys, and said, yeah, really, does it work? Was a automotive engineering company associated with high performance motorsports. And obviously they've got battery packs and hybrid packs within their vehicles. And they wanted a fluid that could be used within and or prevent fires in and around those high performance vehicles. So they set about testing it. We got some great data in terms of injecting a small amount over the battery pack from a suppression system. And yeah, I mean, so people are coming to us like that saying, we've heard about your product. Can we talk to you? Because we've got a problem that we can now solve by using your product. But also you've got the marine sector, the engineer, the aviation industry is now panicking every time you get on a flight. One of the announcements is, if you drop your phone, if your laptop starts to overheat, please tell us and we'll come and collect it. And they come along with high temperature gloves and a pair of barbecue tongs to put it in a bag and seal it up. So there is a concern, a growing concern across every walk of life. How do we deal with this battery issue? And are people aware of it? So we've got multiple application methods of our products that people are now starting to come to us with.
So, and you talked about that, as you say, application methods, right? We obviously, you can apply the product in raw form, 100% concentration. And then you said that you could also go down to, what was it, 6%? And that's through like a foam, I guess in the States, we would call it a foam pro, like a foam inductor. Yeah. You can do that through that.
Yeah.
Can
5
you
gallon
also
tank outside the truck, eductor in, put it into the hose at 6%.
And then can you also mix it yourself? So say you had your own water can, you could make a solution, or you could fill the can with what has been done with that?
No. So the advice is always, if you're having it in a can, use it at 100%, because actually the can that we're retailing in the US is a 1.6 gallon, not your 9 liter equivalent. So over 2 gallons. So because you don't need significant volumes of it. So we don't need lots of 9 liter or 2.3 gallon containers. So use the fluid in a canister is 100%. Because it comes out of a fire truck differently in terms of how the venturi comes through the nozzle, how the fluid's treated as it coming through the nozzle is slightly different. So the chemistry performs differently, hence you can have a dilution of about 6%.
I remember you saying something at one point, and I can't remember exactly how you phrase it, but something to do with the surface tension and how the product goes around the water droplet or something like that. Can you elaborate on that? Based on my poor memory.
One of the other great aspects of the fluid, it has no surface tension, so it will act like a wetting agent in the hose and the ductor system. So it's reducing the surface tension of the water, so the water's 100% wetter. But actually, as the fluid's coming out the nozzle, it's coating the water droplet with the fluid. So if you imagine a balloon hitting the fire, the balloon, the skin of the balloon would encapsulate, if you like, the flame and the fire, and that's what our fluid is doing as it's coming out of the nozzle end. So you're getting 100% fluid around the water droplet, which means you're getting that initial knockdown at such a level that it's knocking down that fire incredibly quickly and giving you the same chemistry, if you like, as if you're using 100%.
Wow, that's crazy. I remember you saying something about that, and I couldn't remember how it actually worked. But that is a crazy thing.
That's how we. That's how we knew how clever and how good the fluid was, because even at 6% over that 42 kilowatt battery that was in significant thermal runaway, how little fluid was used in comparison to a foam, which was just blanketing it with lots of bubbles.
Yeah. Huh. So we kind of skipped over the advent of this product by talking about the advent of like the HazMat Guys and TRF relationship. But I don't know. I truly don't know if you were involved in the company at that point or you came along the ride. But what do you know about those early tests of saying like, hey, we have this theory of how to do this chemistry and now we're going to try it? That moment where it went, that first battery went out must have been friggin' insane, right? They must have lost their minds, right?
Yeah, but I've been in the business almost 7 years. The company's 10 years old. I joined to help the business really bring that commercial aspect and the operational aspects of the business together. The two founders are still in the business. We're still founder-led, and there's a few of us in the business that drive it forward and are excited about the fluids that we have. But the real purpose of where it all started from was a multi-purpose fluid, was something to make it easier for anybody who's in a fire situation, may have had some training about an extinguisher, but when you're faced with 2 or 3 different extinguishers in the corner of a room, you have to know what the fire is. Do I use water? Do I use a foam? Or do I use a CO2 or a powder? Now, powder inside is not great, but it makes a bit of a mess. But it's that knowledge of actually, let's simplify the fluid capability to make it a one fluid can do all, which actually allows the user, the operative, the person who's caught in the situation of, oh my God, I've got a fire, how do I deal with it? Just pick up one product. And that's where it started from, was how do we develop a product that can do a multi-purpose group of fires? And then as that evolution happened, and then more and more battery fires were coming up, we were blowing up batteries 5 or 6 years ago in preparation for what this might need in the future. And actually, yeah, we were it was great. It works. Brilliant. We knew this before anybody else did. So actually, it was then proving it. And people, even now, there's still a sort of a desire to ignore some of the reality around batteries. It won't happen. Oh no, it doesn't happen that often. It doesn't. But actually, when it does happen, it's really, really bad, and it's very difficult to control without thousands of gallons of water or the TRF product. So it's that advent of creating something that was multi-purpose that we could then apply to a new fire type and be ahead of the marketplace rather than just trying to repurpose what existed today, which then became, it doesn't actually stop it. It might put the flames out, but it will reignite. So, but for us and our product, it just changes that whole confidence with putting the fire.
What an ironic thing, I think, that, in a world where it seems like everyone would try to solve the lithium-ion problem, the battery problem, you were trying to just make firefighting or extinguishment better, and then inadvertently you solved this this bonus problem that's like is the pinnacle of what we're trying to solve right now, which is kind of fun and crazy.
Yeah, and part of that, it's the traditional firefighting arena with a metal extinguisher, and it's fairly cumbersome, and there are 90 million homes that don't have an extinguisher in the US. It's just how does that fit? How do we help and support both from a domestic point of view, but also from a PPE point of view, or from a military point of view, or from a law enforcement point of view? How do we help and support the same issues that they're having with a fluid that's absolutely brilliant, but actually just make it easier so they don't have to have a 2 kg or a 2.5 pound extinguisher in the back of their car, which it's in the back of the car. So if they've got a fire in the front, they've got to get it out the back, go back in the front, and it's already bigger. So for us, it's always been about how do we make firefighting safer, quicker, because every big fire starts as a small fire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When
you conceptualize that, and if I can put a small fire out really quickly, it doesn't become a big fire. Mm-hmm. And it's that simple. That's our ethos, whether it's this little pack here, which is our all-in-one product, or a big extinguisher, or thousands of liters or gallons of our product going into a fire truck. It's the same thing. You'll need to use less, you'll knock the fire down quicker, and it will be safer for everybody. So that's the philosophy that runs through our business.
So with like talking kind of into some of those other products beyond the TRF, right? I would be remiss if we didn't talk on, at the very least, the Wildland fluid. There's other product lines that are promising and cool, but I've seen some stuff with the Wildland fluid that was in the testing that you guys kind of tacked on as a bonus when we're like, we want to test batteries. You're like, well, let me show you this one other thing too. So talked about the Wildland fluid. I have a little anecdote that I'll tell when you're done, but like, cause I thought I was going to get you at one point. Cause like I said, we really came to Wisconsin, like we're going to prove these guys they're trying to pull our legs. And with the Wildland fluid, I really thought I had you, and then not so much. But so walk me through the Wildland product.
The Wildland product, that what we call Wildfire Pro, is a brilliant product. The TRF is a brilliant product. All of our products are designed to be brilliant and just change that concept and make it safer. So Wildfire products, they're all divided up in different sectors. So water treatment, Class A foams, wetting agents, all those sorts of things are complicated. Our fluid can do all three of those things with one fluid. And the test that we did that I always enjoy is we put loads of hay and straw out on the floor, we set light to it, the wind's blowing it along, we spray a little line, and it stops. We've already pre-treated a little area at the end that's dry, and we put the dry hay and straw out, and we relight it. So it goes along, and it stops again at that pre-treatment line. And the ability to spray and extinguish, but also pre-treat ahead of the fire, allows you to create a proper fire break without having to clear everything, without having to chop 15, 20 meters worth of trees down, and it will jump them anyway. It actually allows you to create a fire break with fluid, knowing that for at least 2 weeks, you've then made that area completely fire safe and retardant. And that's the beauty of it. And then one of the tests that I love showing is a small handful of hay and straw that we've pre-treated that just won't light. And it's that test which just people are like, no. Is that a real blowtorch? Well, yeah, it's glowing red hot. The hay and the straw just won't light.
Yeah, that's what I saw. That was my opportunity, that when you did that test, I was like, I got him. I'm willing to burn my hand to prove a point, right? And so they have this straw, right? And we had a debate about what hay is and what straw is, but we learned a little about farming. So they have this straw, and they blow torch to it, and you can see that cherry hot red coal, like that ember that is burning, and there's smoke, but it's actually steam. I found out because I learned, and so then I'm like, well, when they remove the blowtorch, because it's not igniting, right? There's got to be heat, right? I'm going to put my hand right on that where that red hot ember was, and I'll burn my hand, and I'll prove that this doesn't actually do what they say, right? And so like they pull the blowtorch away, and I'm saying less than a second, my hand is on the exact spot where that blowtorch was, and it is not hot. It's not warm. There's no heat. And I tell you what, I felt like I was at I don't even know. It felt like it was like some sort of magic show. Like it didn't feel like my brain was computing with my sensory inputs, right? It was insane.
And that's what we absolutely love about the product being demonstrated, because actually we know its attributes. It will extinguish and knock down really quickly. It will prevent any reignition, but it will also be retardant in terms of you can pre-treat something and prevent it from becoming a fire. And the work that Rick and that Amy have done in terms of that 30-acre Allenton fire and the pre-treatment of that. And then I said, what's that line between the two areas? And Rick just said, oh, it's where the firefighter left the hose open. And it was a 2 or 3 inch line from one area to another that was completely untouched by the fire.
Yeah, I think that video is worth elaborating on because it is insane, right? So they did, I believe what you said, 33-acre burn, and they treated a line of trees and a building, an outbuilding inside this field. And then they burnt the entire field, like to a crisp, it's all the black. Yeah. And then right in the middle, green trees, right? And a building completely untouched by fire.
Yeah.
And then in between those locations, there was a line of unburned dry field, inadvertently, accidentally, because the hose was leaking as they drove from one site to another.
Yeah.
And
I love it. I just absolutely love it.
It's insane. It doesn't compute in the brain, but it is impressive. And that that footage is available. You can see it, and it's wild.
Yeah.
So I don't want to keep you all day, but tell people where they can find more information, where they can see the certifications, where they can see the testing footage, all that kind of stuff, so that they can keep diving down this. Because I'm telling you, it took me a long time to be convinced, right? I had to see with my own eyes the doubting Thomas that I am.
You've seen it.
Like I said, the doubting Thomas that I am, it took me a bit to say, wow, holy cow. And so I expect people to hear this message and go, okay, I'll look into it myself, right? So where do they find the resources to do their research?
So the 3 places. They can come through to you guys at the HazMat Guys and talk to you about it to get the independent view, essentially. FSS in the USS, so Fire SS, Fire Suppression Solutions in the US, or they can come to the LifeSafe.com website. Under LifeSafe Professional, the fluids are there, the products are there to have a look at and see. And you can contact us directly through that route. And I think the other thing is get in contact with us, or any one of our you guys, Rick and the team at Fire SS or LifeSafe directly. Get in contact. We'll have a conversation. We'll show you the videos. We'll talk to you about what it is that we do, because actually sometimes explaining it just removes some of that mystery. And we don't mean to be mysterious, but the fluid really does work. And I think that it has been proven multiple times, and I think that is real. And I think talking to us, you get a sense that we're real as people, and we're not trying to sell you something that you don't want, but we definitely sell you something that you need.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, thanks for taking the time today to break down the product. I'm super appreciative. I'm super appreciative that you were willing to let us rake you over the coals and try our best to break your product down, unsuccessfully at that. But we're excited now after this long of vetting the process to kind of bring it to the world and say, hey, we believe, I guess. I mean, it's crazy, but it's true. And I've seen it. So I have to believe it. So thanks, Paul, for joining me.
No, it's been great. No problem at all.
Absolutely. Thank you.